Why is knife crime on the rise in the UK? Knife attacks in the UK are increasingly becoming a cause for alarm, if not an alarm. Recent stats have revealed a drastic upsurge in the levels of attacks in the United Kingdom. According to recent stats, the United Kingdom witnessed 13,405 incidents of knife attacks in 2022 alone. This is not all. The stats also showed that between October 21 and June 22, there were more than 49,991 reported cases of knife attacks. This is equal to an average of 136 knife attacks per day. And that would bring us to the big question for today. Why is the United Kingdom experiencing a rise in knife attacks? Just before we go into that, I want to point out what a knife attack is. A knife attack is any form of attack that involves the use of a knife to cause physical injury to the body of an individual. This injury can result in the death of the victim. To the question now, why is knife crime increasing? There are a lot of reasons for this increase, which include toxic environment. Top on the list on today's piece is the toxic environment. It is important to point out that the 21st century world is complex. The emergence of technology has also been a major reason why our world has become complex. That said, the complexity of our world today has greatly increased the moral toxicity levels in our environment. The toxicity in our environment in this context means any socio-cultural and physical settings that prompt thuggery, hooliganism and mob actions. All of these are altogether referred to as negative behaviours. And the truth is, these negative behaviours of mob action, thuggery and hooliganism are increasingly becoming the acceptable values in our society today. It is also important to point out that the toxicity in our environment has had a greater impact on the younger generation between the age bracket of 15 to 28. This particular age group has been mostly affected by the toxicity in our environment. You probably might ask how they have been affected. Well, remember I told you that toxicity is increasingly becoming the norm in society, and this is because this is what the younger generation sees as the standard. A lot of people in the younger generation grew up in a society that promotes violence and hooliganism. These young people see these things in movies. The movie industry has played a huge role in promoting toxicity and violence. A lot of movies produced these days are gangster movies depicting gun attacks and knife attacks. This younger generation sees this and wants to emulate such. Also, violent video games have played a huge role in promoting violence among the younger generation. This is because many of the younger generation are increasingly getting addicted to these violent games. They get addicted to the point they bring such acts to the real world, and this often turns them into violent individuals. Socioeconomic factors. Next is socioeconomic factors. Society's economic factors are another reason many believe knife attacks are increasing in the United Kingdom. Socioeconomic factors in this case refer to the social and economic inputs that affect an individual's overall quality of life. These socioeconomic factors include employment. Without a doubt, a person with a good sustainable job is less likely to commit a knife crime. This is true, and it is the reason you hardly hear of an employed person committing knife crimes. It is mostly done by touts and hooligans who don't have a good job. According to a report, jobless teenagers are mostly being used to smuggle drugs and used for violence-related issues. Wealth is another socio-economic factor that has been affecting many. The truth of the matter is we all desire to have money and not just a job. One might have a job and not have money, and this would not make a difference. The lack of sufficiency of money has pushed many into a gangster life, and as a result, they would have to rely on crimes to make money. The UK, for instance, has been experiencing inflation, and the consequence of this inflation has led to the reduction of purchasing power of many. This probably explains why people steal and rob with knife attacks. Also, quality education is another socio-economic factor that is driving up the rate of knife attacks in the United Kingdom. The number of people dropping out of school in the UK has been on the rise recently, and this rise is sponsored by the spiral effect of the COVID-19 pandemic. That said, many have argued that there has not been any social research that shows there is a current correlation between the impact of reduced education on the crime rate. While that may be true, as there is no factual research on that, but what we know is that decreasing education quality, particularly among the younger generation, is a recipe for triggering a higher crime rate, which consequently increases the knife attack rate. Lastly, social inequality is also a component of socio-economic factors that has been driving up knife crime rates in the UK. The impact of Brexit and COVID-19 has compounded British economic woes, and thus economic woe has led to further disparity in wealth distribution between the wealthy and the poor. In other words, the gap between the rich and the poor is getting wider in the UK by the day, and this means that more and more people are not able to meet their daily needs, while a few others have had more than enough. The condition is a recipe for a crime rate increase as it leads younger people into crime and gangster life, which currently is the leading cause of knife attack increase in the UK. Mental health. Another factor driving the knife attack rate in the UK is mental health. Mental health is a big issue in the United Kingdom at the moment, and hence a lot of focus has been on it. It is believed widely by many that the mental health status of British society, particularly the younger generation, is seriously threatened. Also, it is important to note that socioeconomic factors mentioned earlier have accelerated the mental health crisis Britain is faced with. The lack of a good job, quality education and wealth has led people into mental health conditions such as anxiety, depression and other forms of mental health conditions. This ultimately makes many of them feel hopeless. And guess what? Many of the people who are into gangster activities in the UK are hopeless, depressed and anxious people who don't know what to do with their lives. Also, the spiral and the unintended consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic have made the mental health conditions of many in the UK worsen. The impact of the lockdown and stay-at-home mandate, according to reports, made many enter depression and anxiety. Reduction in police activities. Another reason why knife attacks have been increasing in the UK is that there has been a reduction in police activities in the country. The reduction in police activities in the UK has been around for some time, and not too many people know about it. This is because there has not been enough media coverage about it. However, the reducing police force is causing all manner of issues in the UK public. Chief of them is the knife attacks. According to a report that was obtained recently, more than 8,000 police officers left their work last May. This was the highest record ever recorded since data was gathered. And this has led people to conclude that police forces across the United Kingdom are at least 30,000 units short of what is sufficient to maintain public safety. This means that there are currently not enough police officers in the UK to respond to crime. The consequence of this is that we are seeing a dangerous increase in criminal activities manifesting in other ways as bloody gangster activities. Also bear in mind that with the upsurge in immigration intake by the United Kingdom, the population of the United Kingdom is expected to grow further, and with this growth comes the possibility of more crime, which would require more police action, which is seriously deficient at the moment. Lack of attention to the youth. Lastly is a lack of adequate attention on the youth. The youth generation of the United Kingdom has been caught in the web of gangsterism, hooliganism, drugs and many more. And this is because there is not enough attention on them both at home from parents and the government. Guess what? This is making them feel lonely and neglected, and it is drawing them into all kinds of evil vices. Currently, most of those individuals involved in drug trafficking knife attacks are youths. So, in summary, the combined impact of toxicity in society, socioeconomic factors, mental health, reduced police activity, and lack of attention towards the youth has contributed greatly to driving up knife attacks. And this would continue to persist if they are not addressed. However, just a quick question. Do you think any of these factors aren't valid enough? Let's get your thoughts and opinions. Bye for now. Thank you for watching this video. Please don't forget to subscribe, comment, and turn on the notification bell.